Beyond the Sermon. We are on episode 6, and this wonderful episode,
Yay!
this wonderful episode is called The Calling I Did Not Ask For. Sometimes purpose doesn't feel like a gift, it feels like a weight, a burden. The Bible says that God does not call the qualified, yet He qualifies the called. And it seems like oftentimes when He qualified you, you do not plan to be qualified for this assignment, but God gives it to you anyway. Like Jonah, many of us have tried to run from this calling, whether it's out of fear, out of anger, out of exhaustion. But what if the very thing that we are avoiding is the gateway to our deepest transformation? Let us dive right in. Have you guys ever felt called to do something that scared you or made you uncomfortable? And if so, how did you respond?
I mean, definitely. Like, I feel like I remember like the first time I met our Pastor E.V. Edward. He was like, "You have the gift of dreams," and then I was just like, "Okay." And I've had instances where I would have a dream, and it will come with like certain instructions, or like pray for this person, or this thing happened to this person, and it's just scary seeing that type of stuff and knowing that, okay, now you have to pray for this person. I remember when something happened, I felt the leading to pray for a certain person. I prayed for them, and what I was praying, against not to happen to them, happened anyway. And I know how bad I felt. I was like, did I not pray enough? Should I have prayed maybe a little harder? What could I have done different? That's definitely hard.
What about you?
Mine goes a little deep, and this is something I haven't told anybody outside of my family members. So I used to be able to see.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I used to have that. And that's because I was like deep into God. I used to pray to see. Like, so then I did get the gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, even trying to approach somebody to tell them what you see is weird. Because even at Walmart, I be looking at people and I just see stuff and I'm like, I don't know if I should tell. But sometimes you can't control it. So it's very difficult to do that. I haven't done that in years. Like, I haven't done that in years. So, yeah, it's really difficult to approach somebody and say, is your name? They'll look at you very weird. But I did that to one person. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing that again. Yeah.
For me, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I cannot remember. I cannot recount one thing that I have been called to do and that made me uncomfortable, because I feel like everything that somebody asks me to do makes me feel uncomfortable.
Please.
And how do I respond? For me, oftentimes I just freak out, but it gets done either way. And that's with everything. But to recount one, like, I cannot.
You can't remember?
I cannot tell you not one assignment that that I felt like I was called to do, and that like made me uncomfortable, because for me, I feel like every time that there's been a calling upon my life and I get told, I mean, in that moment it scares me, but it actually like ignites something in me. Like, yes, it's scary, but it actually like ignites something in me that makes me want to chase whatever it is that I'm called to do more. So that's why maybe I don't know what like scares me, because I don't know if it's like truly scared, or it's just that like, or do I call it like imposter syndrome, like who, me?
Right. Sometimes feel like you're not good enough, or like out of everybody, why
me?
They're still trying to grow my faith, or like still trying to find my footing in Christ.
Yeah.
And calling me to do this much.
This is too much work. I just got here.
Just
what is one area of your life where you feel like you're running from God's calling, and what would obedience look like instead?
I don't know what obedience would look like, but I know he wants me to go back to that spot that I just told y'all about, and I definitely don't want to go back there.
Why?
I don't know. And maybe it's just my body just not urging me to go, but
That's fair.
it's not hard work. I mean, it just comes.
Is it just because you don't want to like approach the people?
I really don't. I just don't want people to be scared of me. That's something
okay.
that's just. I'm a very likable person, and I started talking to somebody, and that just comes to like, oh Lord, what's she coming back over here? Tell me now.
Yeah.
Like every time I call, it's like, oh, what she got to tell me now? Like,
Yeah.
So it's very
almost like Moses when Moses was telling God, like, God, I'm not eloquent, and God said, go and I will help you speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing when you go and say, God, I don't feel like it. He said, go and I will help you see.
Yeah.
So that's Exodus if you feel like reading it.
That's good.
Chapter 4, verse 10 to 12.
Okay.
Is there anything?
Well, for me, it'll be like the intercessory aspect of things where I feel like I don't why is it me that you want me to like intercess on behalf of people that I feel like they're more qualified in Christ than I am, there's they've been like they've known Christ for so long. Why me? Like, why do you choose me to like intercede on behalf of like of people? And it's just like it's very scary. And sometimes when I start to try to intercede, I just feel like scared. And then what I do to help me is before I start praying, I ask, Lord, give me utterance. Help me to pray what you want me to pray, and not what I feel like. Yeah.
I would have to agree. One area in my life that I feel like God is calling me to do that I'm deliberately running from is intercession. And the thing with being an intercessor is that, like, I feel like the more you run, the more you're thrown into it. Because in the midst of my running, one Sunday, we all four of me, Happiness, and the two other church members were, told that we were intercessors. Well, we weren't told. We were,
And another part that scares me about intercessor is like what you're praying for somebody, like you're, and the thing like I feel like the thing that's fighting them like now
it's supposed to fight you.
I'm like, please, I'm just a baby.
I'm just a baby.
I'm just a girl.
And then that's the same thing. And just recently too, like I was texting Happiness because I wasn't in church last Sunday, and Happiness had like told me about a testimony that we were being prayed for one church member, and that whole week, like I was down bad. I was struggling. And I told Happiness, I said that intercessory prayer that we're doing on Tuesdays, I'm not doing again. I told Happiness, like, I'm not coming. And Happiness said that, you need to come because it's really working. I said, no, I'll pass because whatever is happening to those people is not happening to me. It's like,
it could be in the neighborhood.
No, I feel like because it said that, when you are interceding for somebody, you need to be spiritually strong and diligent because you will be attacked.
Yes, you will.
And I feel like the things, especially, and they always attack you where you're weak. And I feel like for me, I'm weak in my emotions. Like I'm very emotionally vulnerable. So oftentimes when it comes to when people are asking for like prayers, for like emotional strength or just strength in general, I said I'm gonna sit this one out because if I begin to pray for you now, tomorrow I'm fighting depression. I don't want to be depressed.
That depression might be times 3. We don't do what
I
God
know
wants us to do.
it's not even times 3.
Exactly.
So that when you win off a demon and you're not consistent, the demons come back times 7.
Yes.
I'll be better once.
That's why I told her first, I'm not doing it again. Like, I'm gonna text Pastor Whitney and say I'm not coming to intercessory again because I don't want these problems But that's the thing, and that's why I run from things like this because and I remember when our pastor would be talking. Remember how once I was sitting in the office, he was like, "You don't know the attacks that I get from praying for y'all." And in my head, I'm just like, how bad could it be? Like, you're a pastor. Now imagine us, like, now I see, and then imagine a pastor, like, we're getting this small attack. Imagine what pastor they go through when they pray for you.
I don't want to be here.
I have a friend who's actually a prophet, and she prays. She prays. When I say she prays, she prays. She, like, comes to people's houses and pray. And I didn't hear from her for, like, a month. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Because sometimes I always, like, try to invite her to my house for dinner and stuff. Like, I've been trying to reach you. And she's like, oh, she had to take a break. she said so many attacks were coming to her and stuff, so she had to stop praying for people and stop going to people's houses. And she said this is the reason why she didn't actually have people come to her house, because they would bring those things here and leave it and then go back to their home in peace. But yeah, so I feel like sometimes, you know, they need to take breaks. But you know how our pastor does it. He never takes breaks. He doesn't take any break. So she had to isolate herself. She had to pray to God, like, look, you know, first of all, fight off the demons, and then try to isolate herself, pray to God, and, you know, then proceed on to doing what she had to do.
That's fair.
Yeah, and then the second part of that question would be, what does obedience look like to you? And then for me, obedience looks like to keep going, right?
Yes.
And the more the demons, or the more attacks you're getting, you keep fighting, right? But it's easier said than done. Like, what level of obedience is that? I've never seen a level of obedience.
So for me, obedience I really could just be going back to what I used to do. I used to pray. Y'all, how you doing? With the Lord's willing, I am doing great. Like, I used to be that person. I'm just not that person anymore, and I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I'm not gonna lie. I know we're doing a podcast for Christianity, but I just don't know why. I can't tell anybody why. But when I get to that point, like, nothing comes more than Jesus Christ, like, literally, which it is today, but it's not as it was before, because I was single. And actually, I wasn't single. Well, I might as well have been single. And I was single, and I had no children. So, you know, I had more time to dedicate, more time, everything. And it wasn't bad. It was kind of fun, because you get to see these things. It looked like deja vu, or it looked like you're just daydreaming, honestly. And the things are just playing out to you, right? So I'll give you an example. I was in a situationship, and they aren't never good, but hey. And then someone just came and I just asked him, I was like, does anybody ask you for money? And he was like, yeah, why? I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, why, did they come ask you? And I'm like, no, I just saw it. And he was like, saw it, like, because he didn't know that part of me.
It's giving
It was, okay, I was stuck. That's so Raven. And I was like, you know, and he was like, yeah. He was like, okay. I was like, okay. I was like, God said yes. He was like, what? Like, he was so confused and stuff. So was I. And I was like, yeah, just like God said yes, give it to the person. Because all I saw was somebody kneeling down asking him for money. That's all. And he said a friend came and asked him for money. But he didn't say nothing about the kneeling down part. But that's what I saw.
Right.
So then he was like, okay. So then he gave the person the money. Yeah. I don't know what it came out of it. I don't know what, you know. So I mean, I did see a lot of things. Even when I went to Walmart, like, I was like, and then people are like, why are you looking at me like that? Like, oh, sorry. Like, it's so weird to me, and it's just something I don't know.
Why do you think God sometimes gives us assignments that we never asked for or wanted?
Yeah. I think he can.
He wouldn't give it to us if he didn't feel like we could do it.
Some people say God don't put you through things that He knows that you can't get out of sometimes, because Lord knows.
Let me open the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verses 5 to 8. I think we all know it, but I'm gonna read it from Amplified, because that's sometimes you know how Amplified gives. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5. It says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you and approved of you as my chosen instrument. And before you were born, I consecrated you to myself as my own. I have appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Then I said, Lord God, behold, I did not know how to speak, for I am only a young man. 7. But the Lord said to me, do not say I am only a young man, because everywhere I send you, you shall go, and you shall go, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. Do not be afraid of them, or their hostile faces, for for I am with you always to protect you and deliver you, saith the Lord.
Amen.
And I asked this question because I remember, like, when I first came to Christ, I was chilling, and you know how when you first come to Christ, there are two types of people that come to Christ. People that come to Christ, and the Lord is good, and everything that they do is from the Lord, and everything is blessed, and you're happy.
Yes.
It's like, you're high on Jesus. But then there are people that are like holier than thou. It's like sin never existed in their life. They judge you for this and they judge you for that.
When my sister went to college, y'all. First, okay, let me not say what she used to be in the world before she went to college. She came to college. She came back home with a long skirt, and I'm like, okay, her dressing was so different. She come with her hair tied. I'm like, okay, you okay? You need to do your hair? Like, what's going on? After, like, when she came back from college, everybody needs deliverance. Oh, you're gonna do that? She was so judgy. She was so, like, I'm a good Christian, take it from me. I'm the new Christian, that's exactly how my sister was. She was that number 2. Definitely.
I'm just saying. But, I mean, all is that, at the end of the day, we came to Christ. Yes. And for me, I mean, it didn't really, I was one of those God is good type of Christians. Like, I was just, then till one day, one of my pastors, at the time I was in my pastor she came, they were praying, they was like, Sybil, you have the gift of prophecy. I said, yeah, nah, I'll pass. And it was a constant thing, and I would just kindly, I'll pass. And it wasn't until one time we were in like prayer. At this time, one of my friends was trying to get into medical school. This has been like a 2-year-long process. And we were praying, and I literally, like, when people say I felt the Holy Spirit come over me, I was also one of those Christians that felt like this is acting. However, I was sitting there and I felt the Holy Spirit come over me, and my legs just started shaking. I was like sitting down, like I'm not one of those people that like stand up to pray all the time. Like, my posture is to sit down and bow my head. That's how I pray. So I was sitting there and I just felt my leg shaking, like, and a word came to me, but I was so scared to say it. And that's a part of obedience that I felt like I needed to follow. Like, I had to tell this girl, but it's in front of the church. I'm like, I'm not finna do that. But the shaking would not stop. I was literally sitting there like shivering, like I was cold. And that's typically how I know that's not been my confirmation. Like, when God drops a word in me, or when I perceive a word, I begin to shiver like I'm in Antarctica. And the shivering does not stop until I have to say whatever I have to say. So I turned around and I told her, I'm just like, hey, when we were done praying, and I was like, hey, you're getting accepted into medical school, and whatever. And I told her that I was so nervous, okay? So at the end of the day, at the end of service, when they're giving offerings and stuff, I gave an offering and I sowed a seed. Because I had to make sure that this girl, this is me being scared, like, because I did not ask for this. Mm-hmm. I gave an offering and I sowed a seed, and I would go home and I would pray and I would pray and I would pray. The term came, August was when they find out if they're getting accepted. My girl didn't hear nothing. Ooh. I said, God, you have failed me. You have embarrassed me. Do you know what she would do? She would say, Sybil. She literally came to me and then this Sunday, and she would say, Sybil, you said. I said, I didn't say. God said. Sybil, now it's not on me. And I would go home, I would pray, I said, God, but you gave me this word. You gave me this word. This girl is at like the dire minute of things. She just gets two offers to interview, 2 of them. And she passed both offers, so now it was her choice to pick whatever medical school she wanted to go to. And then she picked her school. She's currently in Utah. This is actually her last year.
Amen.
And every time we talk, it's a constant reminder. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And then, but my biggest fear was, hey, if this girl does not enter, medical school now, this prophecy, so if you might even have a prophecy, I don't want to get.
That's what it does. I
this burden for months on my shoulders. And that's why I'm just like, I did not ask for this. Like, I did not ask for this, but that's just what comes with the territory. It was an assignment that I typically did not want. I did not ask for it. And that's how sometimes, like, I work out every single day, Monday through Friday, and I work out really early in the morning. Like, I go to the gym at around, I leave the gym around 3:30. I'm headed home around like 5 o'clock back to my house so I can start work. So, but I use that little time, that little 20 minutes that I drive from the gym to the house as like my breakfast with the Lord, and I pray. And then like there are times where I'll be going through stuff, and I start to pray for like God to help me through whatever I'm going through. I find myself praying for other people, and then I'm praying and I'm crying.
Yeah.
I said, God, no, please. I'm dealing with my own stuff. I don't want to pray for these people.
But I don't even have a hard part saying says that sometimes when you're going through stuff, if you put your stuff, I don't remember how you said it.
Is it what, last week?
Put your stuff aside
and pray for other people.
God picks up
your burden, and He does. I mean, in that time
in that
though,
moment, it's hard to
it's
feel
hard
like that.
because you're praying and then you're crying. I don't even know. I realize that I'm crying when I've said amen, and now I put my face and said, "But what's going on?" And I guess that's what comes with having some certain assignments.
Yeah,
that is not like
it's hard. I mean, I typically don't talk about it. It's weird that I really am talking about it over here because I've never told you guys that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's times. Okay, so I don't see it clear, right? I don't see it clear. I just know who I'm going to direct it to. That's all it is. So when there was a time I was sitting there, I was talking to my cousin, actually, the one I just got off the phone with, and she has big eyes like you, and she has big eyes like you, and she had braids. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely this person. And I'm seeing, like, bars. Like, she's behind bars. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? And then when I told her, I was like, hey, I'm seeing you in jail. Like, what's going on? And then she was like, nothing. 2 days later, boom, bam, I got a collect call from,
hey.
And she's in jail. She's like, yo, Abigail, what did you do? Like, I didn't do anything. I'm just telling you what I see. Like, I don't know. So sometimes telling people bad news is not good. And I noticed that, Prophet sees, and he doesn't really tell you the bad things. He just say, pray for this. He say, pray for this, pray for this. I don't know how to do all that. I'm going to tell you what I see. That's all I'm going to do. So that's all I do.
I mean, with gifts like that, it has to have some level of discernment because there's just certain things that you cannot tell people, especially like...
I was like 20, 21.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's true. But you don't want to like always divulge everything you see because some things are just meant for you to pray for them. Because if now I'm a lukewarm Christian and then you see something about me, you come and tell me, it's going to do more harm for me than you think, because you're not going to tell me as a lukewarm Christian that does not pray pray for your uncle that is about to die. I am not doing that, and I ain't talking to you either. Like, so some things are just meant for you to cover in prayer and then discuss it later if you feel led.
Because I've definitely had like certain scenarios, where I dream about something and I'm just like, when I wake up, I'm going to tell this person, or like I'm going to go to this person. And then it feels like you go back to something as a continuation on the same dream. It says what you saw was not for you to tell, but for you to pray for them. Like, it's not for you to like go that, but I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, so I kind of like just pray for the person and not necessarily like let them know, because put fear in their heart. And imagine they're going through something like that and asking God for it to have like a different ending, and then you see the opposite, and then when you tell them, they're gonna be like, "Oh, God has failed me."
Like Sybil and her.
And maybe all it needed was for you to like intercede again. Well, this intercession.
This thing hard, though. Brother Nonso, do you want to join us?
Sure, I can join.
Yay.
Sorry, guys.
Don't be
The more the
sorry.
merrier. Come scoot, scoot.
Be on
scoot,
time.
You guys are crushing it there.
Thanks.
So today we're talking about the calling I didn't ask for. So we want to pick up some insight from somebody that's not part of our intercessory. Well,
I'm not, but
okay,
okay.
yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
So moving forward, where am I? Have you ever mistaken a difficulty for a sign that you're on the wrong path, and how do you discern the spiritual resistance and misalignment?
I didn't discern. I was thinking about discern punishment for something. I was like, oh, maybe I should have done X, Y, and Z. Maybe I looked at that sister with all my eyes. That's probably why I'm going. I need to pray for discernment. So I didn't think, that's finally caught up to me. It's something I did.
Yeah. Have I mistaken difficulty for the sign that I'm on the wrong path? I feel like we all do. Like, I feel like sometimes I think what society and prosperity gospel has led us to believe is that the path that Christ has for you is an easy path.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that is not easy must not be from God.
Right.
But when in actuality, if it's easy, it actually might not be from God. And not saying that if it's easy, it's not from God either.
Right.
But sometimes it's difficult because it is from God, and that it's to build character, and this is just the calling that is placed upon your life. And oftentimes, perspective, like maybe it's really not hard, we're just making it hard.
I would say sometimes you go through trials and tribulations, so it has to be. I mean, not every time, the devil's stopping me from doing this because he knows God is gonna make me great. Maybe God is trying to test you too to see if He will still push on.
That,
Yeah,
give
to
you
see
this
if He
gift,
still.
can you handle it?
Can
It's
you
just
handle
like
it?
it's just like in the Bible where I put it this way, where Jesus was begging God like take
In
this away from
in
me.
the Garden of
Right,
Gethsemane.
right. And then also when he was carrying the cross and was basically asking God to take it away from him, right? But the fact that it has already been ordained that it was going to happen that way, so there's really nothing he could have done about it. So basically God's glory has to be manifested one way or the other. So each and every one of us, I believe, have a gift. I've always been a firm believer that nobody created here or on earth here is a mistake. I feel like the world needs you however short you stay in this world. Your identity here is needed to make the world whole, and that's why we're created. Even the baby that just got born and died immediately, your purpose was already served by just being involved in the world. And that's what I take from it. So to me, you get that gift, you want to put it to use as much as you can, even though those gifts are very difficult in some cases. Just like the sister that shared with us one time here that came to church, was very heartwarming. Her son that died or that passed away, he touched so many lives at such a young age. So that's an example of him serving his ultimate purpose on earth, even though he died at a premature age. He fulfilled what Christ wants him to fulfill before he left. So we look at it differently because we are humans, right? So we're worried, we're crying, everyone is in agony, but God basically has taken him back home because he has completed his mission here on earth. That's the way I look at it.
There's some people that are gonna live on this earth and die without actually finding out what their gift is or what their purpose is supposed to be on this earth.
Yes.
And that's something when Pastor people prayed back in the days, like when I first started coming to church, like, may you not die before knowing what your gift or your purpose is on this earth. I'm just like, I don't get that. But that was before. But now I get it. And I'm just like, and now it's even a prayer point of mine for me not to, the what God has called me here, the purpose has given me, like, may I not like accomplish it before He calls me home, because I feel like I would have to answer to like you have to answer because I don't know,
Like who sent you?
Right.
How do you know you are walking in your purpose though? Like how do you know you're in your purpose?
Okay, so to me, I feel like you're led to know what your purpose is in a way. I think drawing closer to God helps you understand it better. You just gotta figure out those things that gives you serenity, joy, when you do them in the glory of God. I'll give you an example. I don't know what it is, but for me, community service, helping people, just brings me so much joy. I always talk to my wife about it. I say, if I was ever to be blessed with finances, like literally really blessed with finances, and I'm not having to work anymore, I would dedicate my day just volunteering. Literally, that would
It
give
could
me
be a prayer point.
that would give me purpose. Like literally,
Bless me
that
to bless
fulfills
others.
me, and it's always been like that since I was a kid. So I kind of didn't understand what it was as a kid. I just knew I loved doing it, right? So as I grew older, I started to understand that this might be what drives me, or this might be my actual purpose on earth. But that's an example for me, and that's the only thing that actually fulfills me spiritually.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Do you guys think that like the careers you guys pick is part of your purpose?
Oh well.
Just pays my bills.
I make it my purpose.
Well, I'm trying to get into my purpose, career-wise, but not yet. Like, I haven't been accepted yet, so maybe I will be. I will. Okay. But I feel like it is my purpose. I've always wanted to be a judge. I've always wanted to do that. And so, I've been trying to get into law school for the longest. I wasn't taking it serious when I was younger and stuff. So I guess I think now, being a mom of two, I think I'm ready. So,
What made you feel like that? Like that's
I just feel like, well, to my purpose,
No, like, well, how do you feel? Why do you know that being an attorney, a judge, is
It's
your purpose?
yeah.
well, so this is the thing, right? I see a lot of people being, in my eyes, a lot of injustice and a lot of things that are not, that are not being treated fairly. People, a lot of people are not being treated fairly just because, again, the color of the skin, maybe it's the sex, it's the gender, whatever. And I just feel like I know me. I'm going to be that type of judge that's going to be fair. I'm going to be very tough on crime. I'm going to be very tough. I am. And that's just me. Like, I'm giving nobody bond. Okay? You get no bond.
I think for me
I
as
just
well.
know.
Sorry. I think for me as well, it was the same thing. Like, I've always had a tough time because I always felt like purpose was linked to your career because that is what you do till you don't do it anymore.
Right.
So when I graduated from college, I felt like, I was led to believe, because I don't think this was my own doing, because I'm very argumentative.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone would always tell me that this was my purpose, like, oh, you should be a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
like, you, whatever. So I was like, okay, when I go to college, I'm gonna pursue law. And then to top it off, my younger brother wanted to be a doctor, so every African parent's
Dream.
a lawyer and a
child.
doctor, and it's only the two of us too. So so come fast forward, my brother, we're only 3 years apart, so he ends up getting into medical school. I end up getting into law school, and I'm in law school. As I'm in there, I'm just like, it was during COVID in 2020. I'm in there. I'm just like, yeah, this is really not it. Like, this is boring. And every time, like, I even met one of my friends, Rebecca, at a law school forum, and in undergrad. And I remember at this forum, like, people were going around like, why do you want to be an attorney? People were like giving out like these eloquent, elaborate answers about injustice, about finance, about entertainment, all kinds of laws that they want to practice. When they got to me, I said, I want to help people. That's how I knew that this was not for me, because like this, I mean, I do want to help people, but I've always been like an advocate. I feel like I'm an advocate, especially for mental health. And I always felt like, well, since my family wants me to be a lawyer, I can just bridge mental health and being an attorney. But I knew that deep down inside, I was not fulfilling it for myself. It was for societal standpoint. So I said, I'll pass. And when I left, I told my mom, I actually had lied. I said, I'm going to just switch over and come to TSU and go to law school in Texas. But knowing that I was coming to Texas, I was not going to law school no more. So, but that would be the only way where I'll be able to escape that. and which I left, and then I came to Houston, and then I just never went back to law school. And so that was that, and that was very difficult for me too, because I just felt like, because there's 2 times where I like sit back and I'm just like, I mean, I can go back at any time, but I sit back and I think that like, did I really leave my purpose? Because obviously it's easy. You go to law school, you pass the bar, you get a job, you're guaranteed a job. Did I really leave my purpose, or I don't know? It's because it's what was comfortable. Like, I already knew it was really not difficult. So when people talk about purpose, sometimes it always brings me back to law school. Like, maybe I should have stayed, but is it for me? Is it for Christ? Like, how was I gonna use being an attorney to benefit anyone other than my pockets?
So what Nunso said, does it give you serenity?
No, it never did. I never
exactly. So then
So,
it's not
so
your
that's,
purpose.
that's the thing. Like, once you figure it out at some point that this is not working the way you thought it was, that's probably not what you really wanted to do. Now, there are other ways, like you did mention something about an advocate, right? There are other ways you can actually speak up for behalf of people without actually being a lawyer.
Yeah, you could be a social worker, you could do all those things.
One thing I say about lawyers is like, not to be a Debbie.
Yeah, don't be a Debbie Downer.
One I say about lawyers is like, are they really genuine? Like, in the sense of like, there's a fine print between a lawyer actually doing their job and fighting injustice and having to like cut corners because of course they're working. If not, you're gonna be at the bottom barrel, basically fighting a lot of people that you're going against, because I know there are some shady things that happen because they're not always truthful, because you have to remember you're working, and if you want to be that one exception, everyone is gonna make life difficult for you unless you want to practice on your own, which might be a little bit difficult because you have to collaborate. So those are the type of questions you ask yourself as a genuine Christian, right? Like, you're gonna lie at some point because you're defending your client. If you don't pick up those cases, then more than likely you're not gonna be able to get money. So it's a, and that's probably what that disconnect came from.
Like those lawyers in Nigeria.
But yeah, I always felt like I always felt like it brought me some serenity because I was doing what I knew that I was doing what would make my family happy. So that's where the peace came from. But then when I sat back and I looked at myself, like, y'all know me, I'm a soft babe. I don't like to work. I would rather put my time towards the things that make me happy, and the things that make me happy is serving the Lord the best way I know how.
Okay.
Well, simply, even now that you do hair, I've heard you talk to your clients, like the first I've been in your house about Christ.
I do it all the time.
Yeah,
and that's what brings me joy. Like, I can sit there, like, I've sat there and I've talked to my clients about Christ. And I'm like, would I really be able, like, if I was an attorney, being who I am, I'm very straightforward, I'm very blunt. I would literally ask you that now, if you were in Christ, would you be sitting in this jail? But how is that going to get me paid? He'd be like, I want her off my case.
Yeah.
So now when I sit back and I think about this stuff, I now have my master's degree in public health. I mean, I'm going to use it one day, just not anytime soon. Yeah, I pray over my client. And the thing, even with hair too, like it was just so, it was beautiful. And I felt like I'm actually going to, and then the funny thing, when I came to church that one Sunday and Pastor Yubi had come into the front and was like, you have a business in your hand, like you need to keep growing this business. And the funny thing is, every time I said this is my last year braiding, I would get caught up to somebody's altar and they would tell me that you have a business in your hand. You need to keep tending to this business. And I'm like, okay, that's my confirmation from Christ to keep doing what I'm doing, because clearly it's working. I mean, there are people that I feel like I brought to Christ, because even in my old church, when I would do hair back in New Jersey, and I only did it part-time, like, I would talk to my clients about Christ, the little that I did know. And then next thing you know, they're in church with me every Sunday. There's some of my friends are now planted at my church in Jersey because of what I do, and that's what I'm trying to do here in Houston. And at first it scares me because the demographics are, Houston is different. But people are like willing to listen. Like, people these days are hungry for Christ, and I felt like, and then now that I have Rebecca, her and I work together on Sundays, like, and it's just double the power. Like, whatever I can't tell you, she'll tell you. Whatever she can't tell you, I'll tell you. And then when we join forces together, and sometimes what we do now is like, because her and I just don't have any regular conversations. Like, when we feel like the client is not paying attention, we talk about Christ to ourselves. And then they jump in here and there, and then later on they're asking for the ticket to come to church, which we'll give it to them, which they don't show up. But Pastor Yubi says that don't worry, one day
they will. Yeah,
they're gonna dig in their person, they're gonna find it, they're gonna come.
It's true.
So now I feel like I'm working in my purpose. Like I'm super happy. Like I wake up every day and I get to still be a soft babe and do hair as I please. And
I feel like also the hand of God is over your business. Cause I remember that one time you shared that you pray to God, like if the client that's coming is not going to want to know about Christ or like want to talk about Christ, they shouldn't show up, and they didn't show up.
They didn't show up, and that was the first day. And that's another thing about being an intercessor, because I sometimes feel like I will only intercede for each other, but sometimes I feel like I neglect the things around me, like my academics, my business, my home. And I remember when I started, I said that I come home from the gym at 5 a.m. every day. So on my morning drive back home that day, I'm going to incorporate praying for my clients. So I would pray and say, oh God, as they're making their way to my house, may you bring them here safely. But if this client is not for me, may you turn her around, or whatever, however you have it. And I felt like, oh, all my clients are elite, okay? So they're all coming one day. I said the same prayer. I came from the gym. And before a client comes, you have to confirm the day before and say, hey, I'm coming. She confirmed. But I prayed that prayer at 5 a.m. in the morning. This is why when they say be careful when you have to do the watch hours at 3 a.m. watch hour, 5 a.m. watch hour. Those are very critical because that 5 a.m. as I'm driving home from the gym, I'm praying my visual prayer. I'm just like, yeah, God. And for my client today, if she's not coming with good intentions for me, with a pure heart, willing to learn, that's what I always say, willing to learn, that's not going to give me a hard time, that's not going to stress your baby out. And I always pray and I remind God, like, I'm a soft girl. I don't like hard life. And I always tell God, like, you got to tell God what you want. And he listens to you. And that day, the girl did not show up. And typical Sybil, like, I was panicking. Because at 9 out of 10, I've already spent the money that I was spending on making. But she didn't show up. And I just rested. This was me resting in the assurance of Christ, knowing that, even when this is an answered prayer, even when the prayer seems to be negative, because it was a no. Mm-hmm. This is not a client for you. I mean, at the end of the day, I would have loved to do her hair, but it was a no. So right. But I rest assured, and it's the part about an assignment that that's how obedience works, because I could have texted her and blew her up and made her feel bad, and she would have came.
Yeah.
And typically, like, when you don't show up for your appointment, like you do a no call, no show, I will charge like your card a certain percentage. That I didn't even bother. I didn't charge her card. I said, Lord, this is all you got it. Like something just said that, don't even worry about it. Like I left it.
Do you guys ever ever feel like at some point in your life, if something you've been wanting or asking God for never really happened, right? Mm-hmm. How do you take it? Do you feel very down, disappointed, or do you have that mindset? Like for me personally, I've come to peace with certain things. Like if things don't happen the way I want it to, I always now start to believe that this is not what God is wanting for me at this point in time. Not saying that he never will want that for me, right? But he hasn't prepared me yet enough to get that thing. And I'm a firm believer that sometimes that thing that we are so much pursuing really hard could be that one thing that is detrimental or that would consume us if we are not actually prepared for it. So how do you guys feel in scenarios where the thing you've been asking for, you don't get it at your time? Do you feel down? Do you feel bad about it? Or do you just continue to believe and wait on God?
I'm one of those people that I'm gonna feel bad. I'm sorry. I'm not holding my feelings for nobody. I'm feeling bad. And my siblings and my husband, especially IK, my husband, he's always like, okay, you're feeling bad. Are you still gonna get it? Like, are you gonna get it if you're feeling bad? I mean, just move. Yes. Oh my. He's like, just move on to the next thing. Plan B. What's plan B? What was plan B? You don't have plan B? How do you not have plan B? Like, he's like, move on. Next plan. Next plan. Life does not stop because you did not get what you want. And I'm like, it did stop. I'm not a crier. I don't cry. But I'm always sad. I'm like, oh, droopy. He's like, you're bringing the mood down in the house. Move on. He's like, okay, let's figure out what we're going to do next. Like, I do feel bad, but then people around me are always like, okay, what's plan B? So then I move on. But I still think about plan A all the time.
I feel like as human nature, you're going to feel bad. But I remember the other time where something I was really wanting didn't happen. And sometimes it's good to have like sisters in our Lord and like people that pray with you. And Rebecca, she was just like, don't mess up everything you've prayed for by sitting here sad and asking God why isn't I? Because I was like, I was doing all that shit. She was like, no, don't do that, because you sitting over here crying, just kind of like you're messing up all the prayers that you've prayed. I get it that you're sad, but like this is the time for you to like remind God that God, you promised me that this and this will happen at the appointed time. Maybe that time is not now. Maybe it's a little bit later. Pick yourself back up. And I picked myself up when I went in the car to go get gas that one time, because I don't buy gas. That one time I went to go buy gas, I sat in my car. I had my last cry. I told God, I'm not going to cry again. You said this and this will happen at the appointed time, so I'm leaving it to you for it to happen. And I said, God, I thank you for whenever you do it, because I know that you will do it. The next day happened.
Oh, aren't you lucky?
And I feel like
maybe I should pray
that.
To
have that sister in the Lord, because if she hadn't reminded me, and I just sat there like, and not like went back to God and like, you know, like I know you'll handle it.
I think for me, I always hang on to Luke chapter 22 when he says that not my will but yours be done. I feel like even in a circumstance that it never happened, I have to ask myself, like, will I still praise you even if what I want I never get? It's painful, yes, but God does not dismiss our feelings. Yes, I will still, I mean, of course I will be sad, but I was always praise God because even in the life that we live, you will never get everything that you've been trained up for. Like, God has instilled all this. You've gone through all these trials for this greater purpose. Some of us will never see it. Like, a lot of us, like, people that, you know, growing up in our culture, remember how, like, our parents grew up, like, they raised the girl to be a wife, and then they raised the man to be whatever. To be your brother.
Yeah.
and the ones that, like, you know, they're they're groomed and they're brought up, and then, like, you ever seen a girl that is literally like
her, how you gonna do your husband's house?
Yeah, but you know the ones, but you ever seen a girl that is literally so perfect, like, she's beautiful, she cooks, she cleans, she's this, she's that. No husband, and then there's ordinary you, like you can't because that's how I like for me when I got married, I'm just like, who put me here? Like, I don't. It's not that I don't cook. I have a cleaner. And then I see somebody's here, like, and then there's I'm believing of husband, and then you're like, but what if you never get the husband? Would you still believe God? Would you still know that maybe it just was not for you? But ultimately, I feel like God grants us our woman in the marriage aspect. I shouldn't even use that, because if it's truly your heart's desire, you will get a spouse. However, in what we're talking about now, I just use that. I don't even know how to use that as an example, but it's the same thing, right? When you're grown up, groomed, that's the thing. Like, when God has, I don't even know how to put it, like, when you have a calling on your life and you've been training up that calling and you're working on it, you're praying, you're consistent, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, you're believing God, and you never reach the calling, will you still trust God? Will you still believe in God? Will you still think that it's your calling? Because it's not everything that have been prophesied upon our lives that we're going to get.
I feel like also kind of ties up with what Brother Nelson said. Some of the thing you're praying for, that might be very detrimental to you. That might be what would end you. Like that thing that you're praying about. Like, there's somebody that has prayed for a new car, and the day they got that new car, like,
they get into a wreck,
get an accident, and they die.
Speaking of cars, when in 2020, I want a new car. Mind you, I was driving a 2015 Toyota Corolla. I loved my car down, and I'm like, I'm gonna crash this car because I want a new car. I want a Jeep. And I was like, can somebody just hit me? Can somebody just hit me? Can somebody just hit me? Lo and behold, when somebody hit me, did I get a new car? No, I did not get a new car. I begged my mom. I cried. I prayed. I said, God, you hate me. And mind you, I was studying for LSAT, and I got into a car accident. I had a concussion. All that studying evaporated, and I had to take the LSAT 2 days later. Do you know what I scored?
What would you make?
I think that one. I'll be honest. I think that one time I won 49. That was my second time taking the LSAT. I was so heartbroken, and then my mom got me the exact same car, the car that I have right now. My mom got me the exact same car, so yes, it's very painful, and that's why you have to be careful what you say. But let's move forward because I think we're going a little over time. I think we've even a funny thing we've even covered a lot of this question. Okay, how can someone balance being honest with God about their struggles with still walking in obedience?
I guess not complaining or murmuring.
True.
Like, don't complain. Like, feel like, yeah, I think complaining and murmuring, because I know that God doesn't like that. Like,
Well, he says complain to him. Don't complain to me.
well, when you're complaining every day.
Complain to him every day. Cast your burdens onto the Lord.
Yeah, but a lot of the times when we're complaining, we don't even acknowledge the ones that He has done.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. But rather than I feel like sometimes when we read that, like, don't complain, it's not to don't call your mom and be complaining to her. Like, literally, like, sit in your prayer closet and talk to God. Hey God, day 3, and I've still not arrived. I'm still waiting for my package. You said that it's gonna be here on Monday. Today's Wednesday, still not here.
That's actually where you're coming from. It's a difference between actually speaking and complaining.
Yeah,
And
like,
complaining
speak to
is
the
kinda
Lord.
like
That's why
you-
he says that cast your burden unto the Lord, not your friend.
Right.
Don't cast your burdens to your
So
friend.
it's like if I talk to Happiness and I was like, why didn't you do this? I've been expecting this, but you never did it.
And then
that's
you go
that's
and then
complaining, right?
and then you go to Abby and be like, I've been telling Happiness ever since you do this, and she has not done it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really not finna do it for real.
Exactly, right? And then now Happiness will go to Abby and be telling you. That's how gossiping starts. But now when you go sit in your prayer closet and you cast your burden to the Lord, 1, nobody knows about it, and 2, He hears you, and 3, your problem might or might not be solved. But if your problem is not solved, are you still gonna praise Him? Are you still gonna worship Him?
You know, He works on His own time. He doesn't work on your own time. So you may need it from Monday through Wednesday. He's like, I'm about to do it on Saturday. So what you gonna do about that?
There's for me personally, I wouldn't say I've been through much than most people, but I've been through certain things that, you know how they use the phrase God of 11th hour? I'm a living testimony to that. I've been through so many things that I feel like God basically, I don't know, and that's why for me I think God has a sense of humor.
He's hilarious.
I really think He's looking at me worried the whole time.
If you
and
want to
he's
know how
literally laughing
funny
at
He
me.
is,
Yeah.
read the book of Exodus. He'll crack you up.
Yeah. So I do think that because I feel like He waits to the last minute. I procrastinate too. So I don't like when someone do that to me. But He waits to the last minute and then He reassures me, because it's like out of nowhere. I mean, I have so much examples, and I speak to my wife about this. Out of nowhere, something just out of the ordinary surfaces, and I'm just like, wow, how?
And
And
because
you've
also
been-
His protection.
Yeah. So to me, I'm just like, so wow. So He's been listening the whole time, and I've been worried for no reason, right? And the crazy part about this is that He does it over and over, and I still get worried. If something else happens again, it's kind of like I've not really given Him that trust that He fully deserves to know that, you know what, I need to stop worrying about this because something's going to happen, or He's going to make something happen, basically.
That's true. In what way has God rerouted you back to your calling when you tried to run or delay it?
So I told y'all I gave up on law school. I was like, But then something, I don't know what just triggered it. I was like, you know what? Let me just apply again to this year. So this year I'm doing something else that's different. You know, it's been really difficult for me to get in. And you know, in the beginning of the podcast, when we say, when we don't get something, we blame it on the devil. So back then I was like, oh, it's the devil's fault. I know, even though I didn't study, even though I didn't try, my LSAT scores was real low. It's the devil's fault, even though I was watching Netflix instead of studying for my LSAT. You know, it was the devil's fault. But this time, I really took my time. I just, you know, I did everything, and I still did not score the highest that I wanted. I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to get into this other program that's going to get me into law school. So I'm like, it's like, you know, they say you fight and you struggle to get what you want. That's what I'm doing right now, literally. So I won't know my fate until August, literally, when the semester starts. So basically, it's like, I know I'm supposed to do this thing. This is what I love. This is my passion. Again, it gives me serenity. It gives me peace. It gives me everything that this is what I'm supposed to do. So then, you know, I just dragged myself. I was like, okay, Abigail, you got to do this. You got to put A, B, and C. You have 2 kids. It's going to be hard, but guess what? You have to go through it. You have to go through it. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm just dragging it. What was the second part of the question?
That was only.
Oh, okay, well, great.
Anybody else? In what way has God rerouted you back to your calling when you tried to run or delay it?
Nothing for me.
Are you sure?
I mean, I don't know. I know I've definitely had times where I tried to run from like intercessory or
okay.
Cause I just feel like it's too much. It's just like it's a lot, and yeah.
Then how did he call you back?
When I knew that okay, it was now or it's gonna be never, is when I started having like series of like dreams of relation. It was even coming from people, and it was just like, it's now or you're gonna lose something very dear to you, and then is that when you're going to start. Like it was coming from his name was Brother Gabriel. Like he told me like he saw this happening. Like he was like this happened, and I saw the same thing in different places. Like I was in a bus. People that I stopped in a bus, everybody left me, and it was just me there. And I was just like,
it's giving Jonah.
I say it's not now. I don't know when. And that's when I went to Amazon. I bought my Bible. I bought all my things. I bought my prayer book. I said, God, it's me and you today. You're not taking anything from me. And I don't want that. I don't want to get to that point before. Yeah.
I think for me, I mean, I'm always running. I'm not gonna lie, I'm always running. But some way, I always come back. It's always that, like I said earlier, with my business. Every time I say to myself, "This is my last year. I'm going back to work. I'm not doing hair again." I will be caught up to somebody's stage, and they'll be telling me, "Hold your hand out because there's a business in your hand, and you have to nurture it." It's always the same word. It's always the same prophecy, and it's always the day after I say, "I'm not doing again." And it always comes after frustration, and like currently we have intercessory, and I was just texting Happiness. I even told Rebecca too the other day, I'm just like, I'm not coming again. Like, you guys are not seeing me because I'm not dealing with the attacks that come from praying for other people. I did not sign up for this. And it's always you are, it's not that bad. And I'd even call my mom. My mom's very straightforward as I am. She said, if you care, don't go. When the demons come back times 7, when they come back after you times 7, then you'll be the one running there for them to cover you. So,
and just to kind of like share this, in our old church, I used to teach in a children's church. Like literally, the first time I walked into our church at that time, Pastor was like, what do you have with kids? Like do you teach kids? I was like, no. And I said, he was like, but I see you with like kids. I said, I don't have any kids. And then he was like, but I don't know why, but I see you with a bunch of kids. And he goes like, you like kids? I said, I do like kids. And he was like, I need you to like, if you want this, I'm not forcing you. It's something you have to accept if you want to teach in the children's department. So I was teaching in the children's department, and for whatever reason, I don't know if I stopped. I don't know that I stopped. And then one time something happened with my friend, and I had to take care of that child for like 8 months. And I had that, and I feel like at some point, I was kind of like complaining a little bit because I was just like, okay, I'm taking care of this child. Some things are supposed to be happening, and those things are not happening. And I was just like, and a pastor at the time told me, and you know, at that time I've been trying for a child for about 4 or 5 years now, and a pastor told me, you see this boy, I don't know, it was a boy. He was like, I don't know what it is with you and this boy, but I need you to remove everything from your heart and take care of this child like your own, and pray for his mother from the depth of your heart. Like, pour all the love that you give to your child into this child and see what God would do. In that moment, I said, okay, no more complaining, no more anything. Even though as humans, sometimes I'll start complaining, I ain't no lie. But like it was a lot less. And I took care of this child, and this child left me in November of 2022. And mind you, I've been trying for a child for 4 years. Oh no, 4 or 5 years at this point. And January 2023, I got pregnant with my child.
Period.
And it was just like, what if? Like, you know? And it was just like, kind of like, I feel like I kind of got rerouted. And then again, a pastor came to church. She was like, what do you have with kids? I said, you can run this children. He said, go back to the children's church. I said, I will. But yeah.
Have you?
Super please. Super please.
No, that's really good.
I think I have a question.
Hey.
Wow, that scared me.
Yes. Talk to us, Pastor.
Yes, I think I have a question. And my question is, what happens, or how do we react as a Christian when we ask for something and we never receive it? It doesn't come true. I know one of you talked about it, praying, and what you actually asked for didn't come to pass. Does it make it look as if, do we think that maybe it wasn't meant to be, or God is not answering my prayer? How do we handle that? Is like to know how we respond towards that as a Christian. Thank you.
Oh, so the pastor intercomed in and asked how we would react if the thing that we wanted we did not get. That would we feel like it was never supposed to come to pass? Or Pastor UB, am I getting it right?
Yeah, you're getting it right. How do we react towards that?
And how do we react? And how will we react if God did not do as we have been believing God to do? And honestly, I mean, the perfect reaction would be to leave it. Oh, it's in God's hands. At the end of the day, it's God's time. That's the perfect reaction. I mean, that's the biblical reaction. But in reality, I would be hurt. I would be hurt. I would feel like maybe it's not meant to be. I don't think. I mean, people can say that, people be like, oh, it's God's time. But I think in all honesty, when the things that we want, we don't get, we feel like it's just not meant to be. We don't think that this is not the right time. We just automatically give up on it. And I think that's probably why it doesn't come, because we give up on it instead of believing that maybe it isn't the right time and asking God to tell us the right time. And I guess another thing that we don't do as Christians either is asking God to tell us the right time. I think if you say, God, but how long do I have to wait? He might not give you a time frame, but sometimes he just might. But I think we just give up on the matter and just give up on it, and then we don't pray for it anymore. Instead of saying, well, God, can you tell me how long I have to wait? He might say, oh, do this, and whenever I feel like this is, completed, or you have done this, then we shall see. But we just give up, and I think that's the thing. I don't think it has anything to do with Christ. it has everything to do with us and our belief and our faith level, I should say. The faith is just not.
Well,
One thing,
okay, go ahead.
one thing I'm always very, I would say, worry about, but not to worry. But I always think about is we make these requests sometimes from God, right? But how do we really know if He even wants us to have that thing in the first place?
Right.
I feel like that should by itself be a prayer point. To verify if that one thing you're requesting is even aligned to or with what He actually wants for you, right? So you can pray about it all day, but He's a loving God, right? He's not trying to put you in harm's way. Again, you know, we have our own thoughts as humans, right? But God's will always suffices.
Right?
Yeah, it was. That's the
So-
thing. Like what you're saying is like we try to take our will and make it God's will instead of taking God's will and making it our will.
Right.
So that's the thing. And then when you don't get it, you try to force God to give it to you.
Right.
And the thing is, like, sometimes He will give it to you, but then it comes with consequences, right? And then you have to deal with the consequences. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I just said, I was wanting a new car, and I said, can somebody hit me so I can get a new car? I mean, I got hit, but I didn't get that Jeep. My mom bought me the exact same car. So, and I still have that car to today, and I don't care about. I kept saying, God, I want a Jeep. I even went and test drove one. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I test drove that Jeep, and I said, oh, somebody has hit me now. Insurance is about to eat. And my mom said, it is, but you're not getting that Jeep. You won't get that same Toyota Corolla in white. And that's exactly what my mom got me. And I don't do that no more.
My initial reaction to the original question would be to cry. I'm not a crier, but if I don't get what I want, I'm going to cry. So that's my initial reaction. And then follow up with what my husband says, what's plan B? Like, even though I never plan for a plan B.
If you trust God, is plan B necessary?
Hey.
Right? That's why I never plan for a plan B. Like, I don't. Well,
Please.
not that type of thing. I don't have a second plan. I don't, because I'm always trusting God for my first plan to go through. And if I don't have my first plan go through, that second plan is just, I'm just going to switch to something else. There is no second plan. There isn't any, another attempt. And I think that's my fault. I don't know if I'm taking a lazy way out of it, or am I just, like, moving on.
You just got to pray more. We have a question from...
Excuse me.
We have a question, and the question says, we know that God does not force us to do anything. Will you be able to live with refusing to answer God and the consequence of your action, God punishing you?
Ooh.
With the consequences of you not answering God's question, would you think that it's punishment? Or would you just say, well, I didn't do this, so this is it? Or would you consider that to be God punishing you?
To me, it would be God punishing me for not doing what I'm doing. That's just me. I will feel like that. I will have, that. And then, like, maybe my conscience will be like, oh my goodness, this is my handwalk. I did this to myself. I should have just listened, right? Obedience is better than
Sacrifice.
there you go. So
Jonah.
I guess
So
right.
God, like,
exactly.
hates
So
obedience.
therefore, I would
End up
then
in
go
another
back and
shark.
be like, okay, what he's asking me to do really isn't that bad. Let me just start doing it now. But then I feel like I'm doing it now because I'm already being punished and I don't want to be punished anymore.
God, I don't think God inflicts punishments, but you will punish yourself.
Ask Jonah.
Girl, what?
Did God put him there? Did God not get him out? God did not put Jonah in the fish's mouth. When you read that verse or that chapter, God did not put Jonah there. Jonah put Jonah there. Because when God sent Jonah to go and preach to the people in Nineveh, if Jonah had just woke up and went to preach to the people in Nineveh and not run around in circles trying to hide, because Jonah would go and try to hide and God would be like, I still see you. And that's how Jonah ended up in the fish mouth in the first place. It's not that God did not punish Jonah. Yet God pulled Jonah out of there. And Jonah still went and did what he was supposed to do because Jonah I feel like, and this is just my interpretation of it. I feel like Jonah went and did what he was supposed to do, one, because he had to, and two, because he had already bared consequences of it. And not doing it, it was going to be worse and end up in the fish mouth. But he still went and did it, but he did it in anger. He was not happy going to preach with people in Nineveh, and that's how he ended up under that tree. How did he die? Cursing God. He did not die happy, saying, I fulfilled what I had to do. But he still did it, one, because it was going to result in something worse. So Jonah was so stubborn that he rather inflict that on himself than just do what he was asked to do. So I don't think that God inflicts punishments. I think that our conscience puts us in a place of punishment. You punish yourself. And that's why sometimes when we're asked to forgive, one, they ask you, did you forgive the person that has done you wrong? And two, did you forgive yourself? Because when you don't forgive yourself, you're punishing yourself. And that's what happens.
I forgive, I don't forget.
That's up to you, Shy. You should have been here. You should have been here. That was a good one. Yeah, but you know.
I feel sorry. I know time is fast gone. I know God will chastise us, not mean discipline us. Even though as we discipline our own children at home whenever they do things wrong, we are all children of the living God. God still disciplines us as his own children whenever we go astray. In the story of Jonah that you just said, I know due to Jonah, disobedience, we saw all what happened. People lost their properties, and because of just one man's error, the punishment that was extended to people that were innocent, and water was spitting into the boat, they lost a lot of property. But at the fish was right there. I believe God positioned the fish there because for whatever thing that happened, God allowed it to happen. To take Jonah to actually where he wanted him to be. God always have a way of taking us to where he wants us to go. Even though we act disobedient because we don't like it. And we know why Jonah was acting up the way he was because of the experience he had with the people of Nineveh, which he actually wanted to perish. But afterward, we saw the mercy of God, over the people of Nineveh when they repent. So I would say it is very important as believers and Christians and those who, want to do the will of God, who wants to live right, for us to walk in obedience. Like Abigail said, obedience is better, than sacrifice. Let us not wait until things become so tough before we begin to want to make things right. Let us all trust human being. I don't know why we do that. I don't know why, but it happens most of the time. So, so it's very important. I agree in what you're saying, Sibo and Abigail and brother, soul and happiness. Thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, additionally, I think it is punishment because even the Bible says, so like when the wicked commit an act, like God will smite the cheeks of the wicked. That's punishment for them doing what they have done. Secondly, there's a story in the Bible that talks about a prophet that was instructed to go out to, I'm forgetting what city, town, village it was, the video you sent me earlier today, where he was supposed to go there and preach and spread the gospel, but the direct instruction from God is you're not supposed to stop anywhere and eat anything from anybody. And he did, but yes, and he did, but then on his way back he was tired, so he sat under a tree because he was tired. He wanted to get some rest. But while he was there resting, another prophet came and met him and was like, hey, look, I want you to come to my house and I want you to break bread with me, eat with me. He was like, no, I can't stop and I can't eat with anyone. And then that prophet said, I received this word from an angel that said, like, you need to stop and eat at my house. So he lied to him, right? There was actually no angel that visited him and said this. He lied. And so the first prophet was like, oh, okay, well, since this instruction is coming from an angel, it has to be coming from God. So I will go with you now. I'll break bread with you, which he did. And in the midst of him breaking bread and eating with him, he received, a word that came to him and was like, my instruction to you was don't stop anywhere and don't eat and break bread with anyone. you have broken that. So for that, your punishment is death. He died there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So I think there are times where God will punish you if you're directly, you know what I mean, disobeying His order. And so I don't think God's first act is to punish, but I think when there's a direct and explicit disobedience where it's not like, because I feel like sometimes your act of disobedience is not necessarily like, I want to disobey God, it's out of fear, or there are other things that are factored in. Maybe you don't even know what to do. You don't know, or you feel like you have time. And you don't have time, right? You don't know what tomorrow holds. So I think punishment is possible. I think you can be punished with, like, the example that we've just seen with the Bible, where, like, he was punished. His punishment was death. And he died right there on the spot because he directly disobeyed God. So I think it is possible, but the question is, can you live with the consequences of that? And what if it's death? Then, you're gone.
Sorry, Happiness, go ahead.
No. I lost my train of thoughts.
I'm sorry, because I did too. But I feel like I agree. But I feel like even when it comes to prophecy, when the Lord gives you clear instructions and you try to take what the Lord has told you to do and bend them, I mean, everything like Pastor said, that, as we are children of the Lord, as the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. That's how God is with us. If He spares you, you're spoiled. And then God, I mean, like Rebecca said, His first instinct is, I don't think God ever wants to punish us. However, there are times where He has to, because when God gives you clear instructions and you don't follow them, like,
and He's not even an angel. How you gonna put angel above?
An angel above Christ. And then if Christ had given you this clear instructions, if He wanted you to now say, okay, stop and eat, He would have told you.
Because He knew that second prophet was coming. Hence the reason why I say, don't stop anywhere, don't break bread, don't eat with anyone. It's a clear instruction that was meant to save his life, but he didn't know that at the time, which I think is what complicates I feel like that's what complicates following God and answering a calling that you receive from God, because as humans we don't know the end, but God does. And so when He's giving you this instruction, there's a purpose and there's a reason for it. For as far as you know or don't know, it could be to save your life, and maybe not even your life, but someone else's life. But because you can't see that, it's easy for you to, in the midst of it, be like, I don't think this is right, or I don't think this is for me because of X, Y, and Z reasons best known to you. But because God sees it all, hence the reason why He wants you to do it the way He wants you to do it, rather than however it suits you.
That's the thing. And I think also, to add on to that, the reason why people don't follow clear instructions is because they don't know the why. I think if God said that, don't do this because you're gonna see, because we always want to know the why, that's why we don't follow instructions. But if God constantly tells you, don't do this because, that means that you will never build faith. You will never have faith, because if God said, you're going to see a man that's going to say that an angel said that you should come out and eat with him, then you would have not stopped, right? Yeah. But then you don't. Then also, you're stubborn, and two, you're not faithful.
You're not trusting God.
You're not trusting God. You're not faithful. You're not even trusting yourself. But that's why the why is never there. That's why the why is never there. And I think you want to add up to something.
I was trying to say, I don't know if we remember that one person that possibly we talked about a while ago, where this person has applied to come to America like several different times, and they were like praying like over it and like wanting, they applied and they got denied over and over and over again. And obviously they're probably like, God, I want to be in this country. This is the country that I want to be in. This is where I'm going to go and make all my millions. And finally, they get this visa and they got to this country, got here, and they died in a plane.
Hey.
And it's just like, so then, now if anybody had told them, like, this country that should be impressed to go to, applied again, I feel like, oh, God is not hearing me, God has not given me this person to go to this country. But if they got there, they don't even enter the country because they died in a plane at the airport.
That's the funny thing, too.
Would they have believed, or they just think God is being wicked to me?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, sometimes when you overly press God, when you press Him and you press Him and you press Him, He's going to give you what you want, but then...
Right. Might be to your detriment.
It's to your detriment, because you're not... The same thing, even, like, when you have parents, like... when you want something and then you ask mom's like, you don't need it right now, and you keep asking, obviously mom's gonna get irritated, like, go ahead and take it. And the whole time you're allergic to it.
Or like Great does this thing where like if you're asking him for something, like at least like Berlin Pops, and they keep asking for something, they're like, okay, just do it, take it. And then they were like, oh, but why that's not working? He was like, that's why I didn't give it to you in the first place. But you could go figure it out. Like, and he wouldn't help them. I was like, great, just help them. He's like, no. I asked him like so many different times. No, not now. This is not a time. But they wanted it anyway, so now they got to figure it out. I was like, oh, you so mean. But like.
That's how God operates as well. Let's wrap this. Last question. How can your obedience to God, despite fear or discomfort, impact the lives of others around you?
I mean, you don't know what the purpose is for you doing the calling or your purpose. So you never know how many lives you're going to save. You don't know what exactly your mission is for that purpose or for that journey, for you to impact on other people's lives. So you just have to go through it and know.
I think for me, my biggest prayer has been to follow instructions. You okay?
I'm fine.
I think for me, my biggest prayer has been for me to follow instructions the moment it is given to me, and not to wait. Because oftentimes I feel like, especially when a pastor tells me that, well, you have to do this, and I'll be like, well, I'll wait for the or else. Then I'll start doing it. Even in my old church, when I used to be heading children's ministry, I was the director of children's ministry in my old church, and I really did not want to do it. But I did it anyway, and at first I'm just like, why do I have to teach children the Word of God? Like, how do I take this information and make it to where they can understand? And then you understand how smart kids really are. And on top of that, like, that's how I studied the Bible. Like, even I was surprised at the things that I was learning, because now I have to actually go home and read. There was no ChatGPT. I had to go home and actually read the Bible and take what I've learned and teach my kids. And in the same way, and then the same way when now that I braid hair, I feel like I've impacted a lot of people. Like, a lot of people are open to speak about their relationship with Christ to me. It's even the times when I will talk to clients and they will get emotional with me.
Really nice.
Yeah, like, I've had a client sit in my chair and like cry, saying that, oh, I really needed this. And there was one time where I was really going through it, and I was doing a client's hair, and her and I were talking, and we're talking about Christ. It's just like God had placed that client on my chair that day, and I'm talking to her, and I'm crying. And it was so beautiful. And I think that God has used my purpose, and every time I try to run my purpose, like I said, Pastor Yubi always tells me to nurture my business, because my business is actually nurturing the lives of those that come to me. I've even had a Muslim. I've done her hair, and I knew she was Muslim. She made it very clear, but I kept talking about Jesus to her. I'm like, you can never compare. One thing about you, anybody can ask you, I'm bold, and I'm very straightforward, and I say what comes. So I say, you can never compare Jesus to Muhammad. And she would say, you probably can. We have a question, and it says that understand that God. Oh, sorry. It's a comment. It says understanding that God's calling is not for you, but for the people whom you are meant to save. Right. Oh, this is in response to the question that I just asked, and it's the answer in the comments said that understand that God's calling is not for you, but for the people whom you are meant to save or bring the knowledge of Christ to. Right. And like, I sometimes I will get discouraged, and Rebecca and I, we've done hair. We've invited like some people to church, and maybe like 3 or 4. We're giving them the card. They're like, I'm coming. We'll come to church. They're not here. and I remember one time, because Pastor Yubi was like, I would tell Pastor Yubi, like, Pastor Yubi was giving them the car and everything, but Pastor Yubi was like, no, one day they're going to dig up in that purse, and they're going to pull up that car, and they're going to come to church. So that's the thing that keeps me going. But, actually being bold enough to get the word out there, because I always thought that evangelism was going out and walking around and preaching to people, but I really evangelize from the comfort of my house with one of my closest friends. And it's so beautiful to see how people are yearning for Christ and they don't know how to get it out there. So it's never about us, but the growth that you bring people, the word that you give to people also helps you grow personally, because then we sit back and you're like, dang, I said that. Anybody else? Or should I repeat the question?
No, I don't have any question. But sometimes when you're minister to people, you kind of minister to yourself in a way. And there was a time in my life where I was so mad at God. I was mad at him. I just felt like things were not happening the way it should. I stopped going to church. I didn't want to hear anything prayer. I didn't want to hear anything Christ. I just didn't want to hear it. And there was this one time, at the time I was working at Walmart, and I have my name tag. It says happiness on it.
Happiness is the way
and this lady comes in, and she was like, your name is Happiness? I said, yeah. And then she's like getting emotional. I said, over name? Is it the same happiness I've been answering my whole life, or is that another thing? And she was like, today, like, I felt like I told God that I needed a sign to know that I was still going to be in this earth. Like, I didn't want to be here anymore. I was tired. I don't feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. Like, basically, she wanted to go home and unalive herself. And then she asked God for a sign. Like, she wanted to see something specific. And so when she saw me in the store, and she was just, like, emotional, like, oh, my God, God still wants me to be here. I said, me that doesn't even want to do anything with Christ. Me that doesn't want to hear Jesus. Me that doesn't want to hear God. Because at that time I was so mad. I just felt like my life was falling apart. Me is a sign that God gave to somebody that needed to be here. I went home that day and I was just like, okay, maybe I need to go back and find God. Maybe I need to go back and see. I feel like
yeah, I had the same experience because I used to work while I was in school. I used to work in Home Depot, right, in the stores.
We have stuff like that.
I swear, Walmart.
Yeah, I used to work in Home Depot in the stores, and there's this guy that literally came to the store one time, and he's an older man. So I didn't know he lost his whole family. So he was basically the only survivor. So he's been down for a long time. So he spoke with me. He needed assistance with like some electrical parts and stuff. So I helped him out. After that day, he started calling over the phone, and then he calls random departments, but he asked for me because he didn't really know the specific phone number, extension to reach out to. So I speak with him, and every time he calls, and one day he literally opened up and said, I've helped him help his life a lot easier after losing his family. So he calls and then asks me for my schedule so that he keep calling just to speak with me for like 2 minutes every time he calls. He said that gives him peace, gives him comfort,
should have
right?
just given him your number.
But it's those, like, again, it's those little things that count, right? So I just felt like, to me, it didn't feel like much at that moment, but thinking about it now, it's like I'm glad I was able to help him at least in that moment to make things a lot easier for him.
And I thought that's like the purpose thing you said. That type of stuff is what gives you purpose, and
Right.
kind of like you were already like working your purpose, not even knowing.
Not even knowing, it just happened. So yeah.
I was so bumbled that day. I said, not me.
God is so cool.
That is so. What Happiness actually said was really touching, and not really knowing what God can use you to do at that very time, but you not being happy, sad, but your sadness, everything got turned around to be a blessing to someone else. That is God speaking to us as a person, letting you also know that, look, you might look sad today, you might look broken today, but your brokenness is fixing somebody's life, is bringing somebody's back together. And I say this to us, I know it's time, but one person's obedience can bring a huge blessing to a whole family, a whole community. We've seen in the scripture that one man disobedient brought death and destruction to the whole camp of Israel, because they was instructed, when you go, don't take anything. And they went and disobeyed. And death, But you watch, God gave the prophetic word that they will conquer, they will win, they will come back celebrating. But Joshua was sad when he came back and lost most of the, lost a lot of soldiers, armies. He came back not happy. God, but you told me that you've given me victory. Why did my men have to die? And God has to tell him, and God said to him, there is somebody that has disobeyed. There's somebody that has done what we were asked not to do. And they were able to find out who did it. And we saw what happened. The penalty was death. They have to stone the whole, they have to kill the entire family. Wipe the entire family out because of one man's disobedience. So I feel God doing what you actually prayed for, you don't receive it. I heard Brother also said maybe what you are asking does not go in line with his will, and you can never receive it. At times, as human, we want something, we're just lost about it. Not really the will of God for us to have it. You know, I just want to have that car, maybe to let Great know that I also have a big car. Able to let Ibrahim know that, hey, I'm also a guy, I'm also a man. And such prayer you will pray 100 years. You will not have it. But just like Sibo said, at times we prayed and God give us, we begin to bog, maybe say will, and God just said, take. That will cost you a lot of problem. Because it's not actually what God designed for you to have. And I'm believing that there are a lot of people out there listening to this, that their life will be touched, that they will learn, especially this generation, they think different. They see things in a different way. And I believe the broadcast will reach them far and near. And I just want to encourage everybody watching and listening, please, this is not about church. This is outside church. And that is why we talk the way we are talking, because we want to connect with you based on what you're going through. That is why none of them is putting on tie. That's why none of them is wearing collar to show I'm a pastor, I'm a prophet, I'm this. But each and every one of them sitting there have a calling prophetically, a calling upon their life. And the way they are talking, they are reaching out to you, they are talking to you, to know that you can go far without Jesus. You need him no matter what you do. Let him be so close to you like the air that you breathe. Thank you.
Is it on? To piggyback off what Pastor just said, he said that it takes one obedience to bring out the whole family. So remember I told y'all my sister went to college and she came back a whole new person, So without her doing that, like my whole family, we went to church, but we just sat there just to say we go to church. But then when she started she came in the house and she was implementing, she's the oldest, so she's the oldest sister. So she's like, look, we gotta pray, we gotta do all the prayer meetings, praying at night, family prayers and stuff. And that really grew our family stronger into Christ. She would do Tuesdays after college, so she would tell me invite my college friends after school to come over to the house so we can do Bible study. And every Tuesday we had Bible study at my house, and we had like 40, 50 people at my house at one time. Yes, because a lot of people loved it. They loved it, and it was cool. It was like just like a podcast, but it was it's great. And without her, honestly, without her being obedient, we wouldn't be where we are right now. I literally would not be looking for church. I would be at home. So yeah, I agree with that.
And that's a wrap, guys. So Romans 8:28 paraphrases that even resistance can be redeemed. Your calling does not have to come easy in order for it to be real. Even Jesus struggled in Gethsemane. But purpose isn't about ease, it's about impact. The truth is, God sees beyond your fears, your failures, and your fatigue. If this episode spoke to you, please like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Also, don't forget to follow Beyond the Sermon for more authentic conversations that meet you where you are and takes you to where God is calling you. Bye-bye.